Hey, what is going on, guys? Chaz here. Today I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus and SE and whether or not they will get iOS 14. So guys, last year we all expected the 6 to get iOS 13 and the 5s to be dropped, but both the 6 and 5s stopped at iOS 12. This was mainly because of the 1GB of RAM, which was not enough to handle iOS 13, as the iPad mini 4, which is the same chip as the 6 but 2GB of RAM, got the update. But in this video I'm going to be talking about the iPhone 6s and SE, which have the Apple A9 processor and all got iOS 13, but will they get iOS 14? So guys, the iPhone 6s is still a really solid and great phone, as I said in my review about it, and it runs iOS 13 amazingly. It's great on iOS 13, but iOS 14, well guys, I reckon the Apple A9 processor is going to stay on for another year. So guys, Notebook Checker Tech News website claims that iOS 14 will support the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus and SE. However, it says that iPadOS 14, the iPad variant of iOS 14, will not support the iPad mini 4 or iPad Air 2. Now, why is this? Well, the iPad mini 4 has an A8 chip, the same as the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, but because it had 2GB of RAM, Apple decided to give it some mercy and decided to support the iPad mini 4 for iOS 13, considering they were still selling them a few months before iOS 13 was announced. So it would be unfair to drop support for a device they were only selling a few months back, but chances are Apple want to get rid of the A8 chip completely this year. As for the iPad Air 2, it has an Apple A8X chip, which is slightly different to the A8, but still not as fast as the A9, and chances are Apple just wants to get rid of the A8 chip series completely, and it wouldn't have been fair for them to do it on iOS 13 when the devices were still being sold only a few months back, but now they have a chance to do it with iOS 14. Back to the 6s and SE, all S-series iPhones have always gotten an extra year of support than the non-S. For example, the iPhone 3G only got updates up to iOS 4. It started on iPhone OS 2, but the iPhone 3GS got up to iOS 6 and started on iPhone OS 3. So that's 4 major OS generations the 3GS ran, counting iPhone OS 3, whilst the iPhone 3G only ran 3 major OS generations, counting iPhone OS 2. The same thing happened with the 4, the 4S, the 5 and the 5S, and logically it should happen with the 6 and the 6S too. The 6S runs amazing on iOS 13, so there's no reason why it shouldn't get iOS 14, whereas the 6 and 5S ran well on iOS 12, but they were not incredibly speedy. This is why Apple thought it was best to end the iPhone 6 and 5S on iOS 12, where they run well, rather than stretch it to iOS 13, where it may become like the 4S was on iOS 9, basically unusable, which wouldn't be good, not to mention they wouldn't like to have tons of complaints or a lawsuit accusing them of planned obsolescence, like what happened with the 4S. But with the 6S, it's a different matter. The 6S is amazing on iOS 13, and I reckon that will carry on to iOS 14, and maybe even 15 if we're lucky. Now, I doubt the 6S or SE will get iOS 15, but there is always a slim possibility if it runs good enough on iOS 14, but then again probably not. But even if the 6S and SE do unluckily end up on ending on iOS 13, it will still be a stable, fast OS, which is better than Apple pushing the devices to their limits. So to conclude, guys, I reckon the iPhone 6s and SE are very likely to be getting updated to iOS 14. They run amazing on iOS 13, and this will likely pass on to the next OS upgrade. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to be notified each time I upload a video. Anyways, have a good day. See you next time, and goodbye.